Indian shares trade mildly in the green following mixed cues from US and lack of cues from Asia, where China, Japan, Korea and Taiwan closed for the Lunar New Year. Hindalco, Reliance, FMCG as well as NBFC stocks lead the trade.
Hindalco shares soar after Managing Director Satish Pai tells CNBC TV18 that they will detail their capex and capital allocation strategies in 2 weeks. GAIL too rises after the management indicates gas trading losses will soon end.
Among other result reactions today, iShares falls on lower than expected margins in the third quarter and high valuations. Now, Titan 2 is lower despite strong guidance from the company after an, as expected, Q3 performance.
The Poonawalla Group is all set to acquire controlling stake in Magma Fincorp. Poonawalla-owned Rising Sun Holdings will invest 3,206 crores for 60% stake. This has triggered an open offer which is priced at 70 rupees a share. Magma shares soar 10%.
Amazon moves the Supreme Court against the future Reliance deal. Does this spell an end to the uncertainty? That's the big question that we're asking. And the street bids up the Reliance stock in anticipation. Hello and welcome. You've tuned into Business Lunch. I'm Nisha Poddar and with me is Sumaira Abdi. A quick look at the markets at lunch hour today and subdued performance today. Nothing compared to what we have been seeing and used to for past many sessions, though there has been profit booking intermittently now this week as well. Sensex as well as Nifty, nothing to write home about. 0.1% up in trade at the moment, and mid caps also pretty much in line. It's a bank Nifty which is taking a deeper sluggish cut at the moment and almost 0.18% or almost 0.2% down in trade. But there is enough sluggishness in trade today, and as far as advanced decline is concerned, that is also that's in favor of the advances because of the mid cap performance being better, but not much exuberance seen in any of the pockets.
All right, so let's get straight away to the big story then. The Poonawalla Group is set to acquire controlling stake in Magma Fincorp. Adar Poonawalla-owned Rising Sun Holdings is proposed to invest 3,206 crore rupees for a 60% controlling stake. This has triggered an open offer which is priced at 70 rupees a share. The current owners, the Poddars and the Chamarias, are also bringing in 125 crore rupees each. So we spoke this morning with Adar Poonawalla as well as the management of Magma Fincorp. So let's hear out what their plans are.
This is a preferential allotment and we'll have to do an open offer as well. So my holding company, Rising Sun, which is a direct subsidiary of mine and 100% owned by me personally, will be doing this. Poonawalla Finance will cease to exist because the joint application that will be made is to surrender the license for lending that Poonawalla Finance has been doing with RBI, so that Magma becomes the only entity that I am more than 25% in, because as you know, you can't have ownership in more than 25% in a single, in two NBFCs, more than one NBFC. The technology that we already have built in Poonawalla Finance will be a great thing that we'll move over. I don't think we'll have to acquire any more fintech companies. We have a lot of technology already that we had built and partly acquired from others.
Mr. Poonawalla's vision, and when I met up with Adar, he was very clear and emphatic that, Sanjay, I don't want to lend to the corporate sector or the real estate or the infrastructure or the big guys. We want to disenfranchise. We want to provide credit to the economically disenfranchised, which are suffering for want of credit from the banking system. And that's where I think it's a great marriage and a great alliance. We looked at various combinations of a transaction structure. But as we were discussing, we found that the deal was quite irresistible. And the merger option would have taken longer time with the NCLT involvement both at Maharashtra and West Bengal. Because despite having moved our headquarters to Mumbai, the registered office is still in Calcutta. And then, they came up with the idea that why not we do a preferential allotment and straight away go ahead with the deal, and that can be quicker, clean and faster. Collection efficiency for the month of January improved to 97.2% from 94% in the month of December. And now we are seeing that barring a few sectors, and like, for example, the taxi segment, whether they are operating for Uber, Ola, etc., which is still where we find that the capacity utilization is still not optimal and they are having some stress. Capital adequacy would improve to a staggering 68%. That's because the capital is coming in now, and then of course it will get deployed with the borrowed funds.
All right, so that's the big transaction coming in from the deal street, and you heard both the parties which really transacted. The stock is up 10% in trade today on the back of the euphoria of this particular deal. But if you really look at the 7-day chart, it has been going up and has almost doubled in anticipation of this particular transaction. So must make note of that, and also that's the reason why this kind of a euphoria had been seen, and therefore the deal has been struck at a lower price than the current market price at 70 rupees per share, while the stock has been a runaway. So let's talk about what this deal really means for Magma. Abhishek Kothari joins us to put together some interesting data on the same. Abhishek.
What this deal means for Magma Fincorp is that their book value will decline to a little under 83 per share from 106 per share. However, their net worth increases by 121%, which means that their capital adequacy ratio can increase to 68% from 28% currently. Now, Magma's rating is AA minus, while Poonawala's rating is at AA plus, which means that, Magma's rating can be upgraded to AA plus. Promoter and Rising Sun Holding will have about 73-74% stake post this infusion, and if at all the open offer, which is pegged at 26% equity, is successful, there could be a possibility of Magma Fincorp getting delisted. Back to you.
Abhishek, thanks very much. Hindalco is the other buzzer in trade. They posted an inline set in Q3, but brokerages too have had their say on the company, and Nigel is here to fill us in on what the street is talking about. Nigel.
Well, that's right. Hindalco's numbers were more or less in line with what the street was working with in terms of the aluminium EBITDA number. Well, that was in line at around 1,300 crores or thereabouts. But the copper business, the EBITDA out there, that surprised, positively coming in at around 200 crores. We were working with a number of around 150 to around 160 crore rupees. But the kicker came in because of the net debt number. Remember, at one point of time, or just a few quarters ago, it was nearly around 64,000 crores odd, and people are getting a little bit worried. Now that number's come down to around 54,000 crores odd, and that was really the big positive. We spoke to the management, and there were 5 big highlights that I'll take away from what the management said. Now, firstly, in terms of the India aluminium business, the EBITDA per ton has been hovering in that range of around $550 to around $600 odd. They're confident of holding on to that level. So India business gets a tick mark. The next one is the copper business. That's been struggling because of shutdowns. But, that business as well, it is surprised positively, and they are guiding that Q4 will be even better because now the shutdowns are done and dusted with. So that's positive. Novelis, they remain confident that they can maintain the $475 per ton to around $500 per ton, and I'm not surprised because the last few quarters they've actually been doing those numbers. The net debt number, it's come down, and in FY22 it will come down by another around $500 to around $600 million. Keep in mind, by the end of this fiscal they would have repaid the bridge loan of around $1.1 billion. And finally, they said in the next 2 weeks the capex allocation plan will be noted, and in fact the street has taken heart from that factor because CLSA, they believe the risk reward is favorable for the stock. They've also gone ahead and in fact said that this could be the big trigger, the capital allocation. Kotak as well, they share a similar view that rewarding the shareholders will be something that they'll be tracking very, very closely. So, that's about Hindalco. But earlier today, in fact, we spoke to the management. Let's hear out what they had to tell us.
Without giving away exact numbers, because we'll do that in 2 weeks' time when we communicate to the market. But the broad boundaries or contours of the capital allocation policy is that we are going to go into a year with very strong performance and cash flows being generated by both Novelis and the Hindalco India business. And we will come up with a capital allocation plan that shows our investors and the market that we intend to do a percentage of that cash flow into growth capex. It's internal capex and not acquisitions, but internal growth capex. We intend to delever by reducing debt, and we intend to give shareholder returns.
All right, a truly global company by way of acquisitions and reducing debt as well as making those acquisitions value accretive is something that is showing up as a bright green on the stock of Hindalco. Now, two stocks which are on our radar today, Titan as well as Bata, after their Q3 results, and Titan trades lower despite the third quarter numbers meeting the estimates, and Bata shares, they slide over 4% after EBITDA sees a 55% downtick versus the last year. Mangalam is here to put all that into context. Mangalam.
There are a couple of factors playing out for both stocks. Both the companies reported results which were absolutely in line with what the street was working with. The management commentary from both Titan as well as Bata was also rather positive. But for Titan, the reason why it's seeing some bit of a sell-off is because, remember, it's more than doubled from lows that we saw in March. And brokerages believe that, the valuation headroom is rather limited for the stock, trading at around 68, 69 times FY22 earnings. And for Bata, the major trigger is unlock, whether schools reopen or not, because the previous quarter we saw some demand coming in from offices opening. But as the unlock theme plays out, maybe the street will put fresh money into Bata in that. As far as the numbers are concerned, Titan's results were absolutely in line with estimates, and primarily because the management after every quarter does guide for how the quarter went by, and the analysts tweak their quarterly estimates according to that. The management commentary for Titan was rather positive. They said that jewelry retail business grew by around 16% in the third quarter, but that itself has jumped to 28% in January. That puts fourth quarter in a sweet spot, and the studded ratio, which is an important determinant for jewelry margins, will move from 26% in the third quarter to around 39% in the January month. So that bodes well for them as well. The other underperforming parts of their business, the eyewear and the watches business, also did rather well in the third quarter, and the management outlook for them is positive too. For Bata, while the results were largely in line with the street's muted expectations of a 25% revenue decline, EBITDA decline in excess of 50%, the management commentary here as well, they saw serious momentum as far as demand is concerned. They opened 45 new stores, and at the same time, digital now accounts for nearly 15% of their revenues, with production nearing nearly pre-COVID levels. But then again, like I said, the big trigger for them is schools opening and the unlock trade playing out.
Mangalam, thanks very much for that. A quick break now. On the other side, we'll bring in the key takeaways from Defence Minister Rajnath Singh's comments in the Rajya Sabha as India and China begin the process of disengagement on the LAC. Stay tuned.